Hey, what is going on, guys? Today's video is going to be talking about the PS2. It is officially 25 years old. 25 years have passed. The year 2000 is 25 years old, and I don't know how to feel about it, man. Honestly, it is crazy to think the PS2 is 25 years old. It's crazy to think that we are now 25 years later, that we have moved that many years. It feels like it was yesterday. It feels like time flies way too quick, and reality of it is most of us don't really want that, you know? I just want to talk about in this video, because I am going to have timestamps and segments of this video, going over just the things that we went through with the PS2, the good era, an era you couldn't miss, you know, from cheat code books, the memory cards, my favorite video games. I'm just going to list off a good few, not all of them, but a good few that are worth mentioning for this video, and just worth mentioning for the PlayStation 2 itself, because it was such an amazing console that, you know, I think that there's so many moments in that era, in that generation, that a lot of us kind of took for granted, or not just took for granted, but a lot of us missed. And I just really want to talk about them, honestly, because it was the last time where we had a lot of that, where we had a lot of games that came complete in the box, games that had strategy guides, games that came with a manual in the fucking game case. You know, it just is something crazy. You know, I'm not saying I hate on gaming now. Gaming can be what it is. Me personally, I still do enjoy it. We have evolved from what graphics used to be to now. I think we're at the pinnacle of what graphics can be, but who knows, really. But just PlayStation in general, I think it's always played a core moment in my life, you know? So, as it has to other millions of other people in their lives. Let me be honest, the PS2 sold a combined 160 million units. I know some people are saying they inflated the units, but honestly, we didn't really know what the end cycle was. I mean, because they stopped making PS2s in 2012, which is... that should tell you right there how much like the PS2 was for PlayStation, like how much they cared for it. They didn't even stop. I remember, was it FIFA even made one last game up until 2012. So it just kind of tells you that, you know, the PS2 still had a lot of people on it. And yeah, man. All right, but I will say that some people do still play their PS2s, including myself. A lot of people have, you know, expanding collections. Like, people are still collecting games for the PS2 as is right now. You even have the new generation starting to get into PS2 and collect games as well. Some of them are doing it for other reasons. Some want to just, I guess some you can see what they're doing. It's not really a hobby. It's more or less to buy and sell, you know, take up the market and kind of just overprice everything. That's my issue. What I don't like with, you know, some of the new generation coming in and trying to get into the games, because some of them really, they don't really want to play them. They just want to buy them to resell them for a much more higher price than what they're really worth. There's some of them might be worth that, but at the end of the day, man, that's my thing. But moving on to our first topic. Alright, guys, now my favorite PS2 games. I have to keep this short because I have way too many. As you guys can see in the background, these are just some of the ones that I'm showing, but I'm going to name them off. First one is going to be 50 Cent Bulletproof. I think it was an amazing game from the PS3. I think, here's one thing I'll say about celebrities making their games. A lot of them really, like, bro, you would be surprised how good a lot of them were. If you guys remember that one game, I think it was called Getting Up or whatever it was by Mark Echoes. And here's the thing, if you guys don't know the story about it. Apparently that game, from his words, he said the game was not what he wanted to be. He said that, oh, the game's too violent. The game is something that, like, it doesn't represent him. Yet the game was really good. The game, it was basically like Grand Theft Auto, but you're just tagging, really. Like, it's sad that he decided to make it where the game doesn't get any more, like, printing and nothing that stuff. He basically abandoned it because he felt like it wasn't representing his brand. I just don't get that, man. But 50 Cent Bulletproof, and even games based on movies like Scarface, those were just such amazing games from the PS2 era that most of us, like, honestly, man, a lot of us ask for those games to come back. But the reason why we rely heavily on remasters is because most times studios, when we ask for that game, we're always met with either loot boxes, we're met with microtransactions, we're met with all this new shit we don't want from the game, even when we get a remaster. I mean, if you guys remember the Spyro collection, right? When the Spyro remake was coming out, Activision tried pulling some dirty shit where they had it where basically 2 and 3 were downloadable only. They're not on the disc. You only get number one on the disc. And I remember Toys for Bob had to, they saw everyone's reaction and basically Activision said, no, 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 no. We will make sure all games are on there. Like, it just made you realize what these companies will do whenever we ask for remaster. That's why a lot of us, whenever we ask for a remake, we just ask for a remaster sometimes because, to be honest, man, like, a new game from the series or something else, we know what the studio is going to do. The way studios act now, a lot of them kind of lose their way and they think that, microtransactions, things that are, things that shouldn't be monetized need to be monetized now. And it's an era we can't get back most of the times, honestly, because we don't know what 50 Cent's doing. I don't know what the hell he's doing with his games. I mean, he talks like he wants to make a game, but what the fuck is he gonna do with his games now? I feel like the only way logically for him to make more games would be to go back to THQ Nordic and probably remaster, remake Blood in His Hand. That'd be my thing, and also remake Bulletproof. But yeah, moving on to Scarface. Scarface was an amazing game because you essentially felt like Scarface in that game because, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day whenever you play this type of games, especially if you play Scarface, you try to roleplay thinking you're Tony Montana and shit. You could buy houses. You can act like a drug. You felt like you were doing shit, man, driving all these exotic cars and shit, whatever car you needed, going around bribing the cops, and when you fuck up, they end up whooping your ass. Like, it was one of the coolest things in the world, man. It was a time where we all felt like we were basically, the world was ours in that situation, man. It's something that just most games like these days, man, they don't give that feel. And it kind of sucks because the PS2 really had those gems that I still play to this day. I still play Scarface to this day. I still play 50 Cent Bulletproof because at this point, Sony has not added these games to their classics. Now, some can say licensing issues, whatever the case might be. But, man, look, these are top-selling games that if you don't think these games will sell millions of copies, then dude, look, I just think game companies are dumb as fuck because when they think of like, oh, let's make a new game, but then what we're gonna do is we're gonna mess it up. There's always something that end up messing up with the remasters or remakes. The only ones who do a good job of remakes is Blue Point Games, but even then, man, the PS2 games at that time just had a different type of like joy to them, man. You just kind of, you just, every time you open that new case, right? Some of y'all would smell that case. Some of you guys would look at the fucking guide inside of it. Some of you would take, including me, would take the guide to school and read it at school. I mean, it was one of those things that you had to do. It was just a good time, man. We all want to go back to that point. I mean, trust me, a lot of us do. But yeah, man, that was that. Moving on to Spyro games. Now, a lot of people said the Spyro games were what they were. Some people didn't like them. I don't know what the fuck y'all are talking about. I loved the Spyros on the PS2. I loved Enter the Dragonfly. I loved Eternal Night. I loved Hero's Tale. I loved all those on PS2. I didn't really care too much about what other people were saying. I have basically all Spyros that were made on PS2. So, I feel like those games were so, like, I'm going to say one thing right now. Spyro Eternal Dragon, the Eternal Night, right? That game is so good. And most people miss out on it because they think that, oh, it doesn't feel like a Spyro game. Oh, it is what it is, man. No, that game is really good. I enjoyed every bit of it. And I kind of wish that it would get a remake as well. But, if they want to focus on a new Spyro game, that'd be cool too. But I feel like remaking those games would be awesome as well. But we'll see whatever happens. I'm not sure if they have a license for those games or whoever does. But look, man, I would love those games to come back. And now moving on to Sly Cooper. Y'all know it. Y'all know Sly Cooper is my favorite series ever since the original. Sly Cooper, honestly, discovering it was a random thing. I remember my mom and dad, they went to Costco one time, and it was about like 2004, around that time. I think it was 2004. And by then, Sly Cooper 2 had already came out. It was already out, but my parents ended up getting, Sly Cooper 1. From Costco. Remember those little, like, you remember the game case that had like the little orange little slip on, like the little orange plastic thing? They had like a handle on it, shit. That's what they got, and that's why I got introduced to Sly Cooper. And ever since then, man, I didn't even know at that time, right? The way I found out of a Sly Cooper 2 was from a magazine at Safeway, a game magazine from Safeway. That's why I found out about Sly Cooper 2, and that's why I found out about Sly Cooper 3 was coming out. Honestly, it was just like Sly Cooper 2. I found that randomly at Fry's Electronics. It was in the bin for like, I think it was like, I would say probably $30 at the time. So because I remember my dad randomly went to go get our computer fixed from Fry's. Because again, one thing is Fry's, they fix your computer, but it'll last like 5 or 6 months, and then you're right back there fixing it again. At that point, dude, just get a new computer. But it was what it was. My dad went to go pick it up, and I went to the game section because that was my favorite thing of Fry's was that. And going there, I just randomly went in the bin to see some games, and I found it. I was like, oh shit, it's $30. I begged my dad, and finally he got it for me. We left that store. I left that store with Sly Cooper. I was not leaving without it, man. And it was my favorite one in the series is Sly Cooper 2. I do like Sly Cooper 3 as well, but like I said, I love all Sly Cooper games, but my favorite one in the series is Sly Cooper 2. I think everyone says Sly Cooper 2 is their favorite one. I've heard that so many times because Sly Cooper 2 just, I would say all the levels were amazing. The details amazing. It was an amazing upgrade from Sly Cooper 1. The characters were just, honestly, I loved all the villains. You know, they all like each of their levels. Right, I love what's it called, Raj's level. I love his the most. Like India, I don't know what it is. Something about his first level, right? It just feels so good. Like it feels so nostalgic to play, especially on the PS5 now. Now that they have them on the PS5, it just feels nostalgic playing those levels, and especially that one, and also the Canada one, the John. I think it was John Bisson. I'm probably fucking up his name, but you know, being in Canada and you just seeing those northern lights, it just back then like graphics what they were, right? Sly Cooper 2 was literally like the PS2. Whenever you got the first game in the series, right, it looked good, and then the second game came out, it kept on evolving and evolving. Then when Sly Cooper 3 came out, you just saw them like the game kept looking better and better, and that was something that from the PS2 like era, we just saw that jump in graphics, and we're like, damn, like this game looks so good. I mean, bro, the funniest thing is I remember the guy waiting in line, right? If you have seen that video, right, it's like the PS2 launch, and it was like one that was in, I think, Los Angeles at the time. And the guy was talking about it looks like real life. It looks like, because he was playing a sports game or something like that. Like, oh, it looks like real life and shit. Honestly, guys, that's how it felt like with most games. They look like they were real life in some way, right? We all had a little filter in our eyes. We thought it was real and shit. So it was something that, yeah, man, it just like everything, whenever anything changed or evolved, we always noticed it. And we're like, oh man, like I wonder what, you always wonder, you're like, oh, like I wonder what, the next generation is going to be like, what it's going to look like. I mean, especially now, the way graphics are, the way we look at them now, right? Like it's crazy to see like being 25 years later, right? From that point, what we said the graphics would be kind of is what we're seeing now. But I think we're at a limit now with graphics, how good they can look. But just how they look now is something that we thought they would look like. It's like it's crazy to think. But yeah, man, I mean, there's still PS2 games that hold up right now, that hold up really well. And it's crazy to see that with PS2, like seeing how it is. There's like some games on like there's games from like the PS4 era, and even some games in the PS5, but not really a lot, but some in the PS4 era I would say that they look good, but there's like some PS2 games that they just hold up so well. They don't look better than those games, but they definitely do things better than those games now, So it is crazy thing, man. PS2 games still are for the win. My favorite generation, if I'm gonna be honest. It's still, like I said, look, I have a lot of generation I love from PlayStation, but PS2 holds a special place for me because, dude, I have a total combined PS2 physical game collection. I'm gonna say about 220 games, and combined with my brother's collection and mine, there are some duplicates, but there are like other type of games, but 220. And I plan on buying 40 or 50. Honestly, for PS2, there's so many games that I don't know when I'll stop buying them. If they're sealed, I'm going to keep them in my safe, just to have them. Whenever I find a sealed copy, whatever the case might be with that. But as for PS2 games, honestly, like whatever it is, if I'm at a garage sale, if I'm somewhere out and about and I see a game shop, if it's a PS2 game I really want, I'll take it. I'll keep collecting I'll keep making sure my collection, if I'm going to be honest, if I keep doing it, if I keep on collecting games, it could probably be in the 500s, who knows? But that's over time. I'm not going to be able to get that many games because they are expensive still, because PS2 games are getting expensive in some way. People are, and they're marking up the prices and stuff. They're getting rare. So, that's just that, man. But like I said, guys, these are just a few. I do apologize if this is a little bit longer than it needs to be. But yeah, either way, moving on to the next topic. and let's talk about memory cards. Memory cards definitely were a key part of your PlayStation console, especially from PlayStation 1 and then PlayStation 2. It was a thing you needed to have if you want to keep your game saved, if you want to, you know what I mean? If you didn't have a memory card, you're going to have to either one, turn the console off and start over again, even though you might have been, on a very far level and you're just like, fuck, I can't do that. I mean, honestly, we've all been there. People, believe it or not, people have literally let their PS2 consoles go. They literally let their PS2 consoles stay on for weeks. The longest I let my PS2 stay on was 2 days. I don't know what the hell to say about it, man. The PS2 is a complete tank. That thing is indestructible. It will literally be on for weeks. I've heard of people back then. I remember my cousin told me he left his PS2 on for 3 days and nothing happened. And he turned on because he had to get a memory card. I mean, all of us have been through a struggle. I remember kids at school telling me they left their PS2 on for a week. I don't know if some of you guys have left your PS2 on longer than that. I know some people have. Some people said they've left their PS2 on for 2 weeks. I don't even know how that's possible, but it was something that, like, memory cards were so important that if you didn't have one, right? Basically, if you're a person who bought either any Grand Theft Auto and you did not have a memory card, you were in such terrible luck, because Grand Theft Auto, those games, right? You have to make sure you save point on a lot of things. The weapons you end up finding around the map, whatever it is, right? And especially on missions you just beat. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Vice City when you're playing that one mission where you go up against the military and shit. That shit was hard as hell. I mean, honestly, could you imagine not having a memory card for that? How terrible that would be. Like, memory cards hold, and also the PS2 memory cards are very unique, right? They always had, like, I know I'm not the only one who did this, right? Whenever he would turn on the PS2 just to go look at the saves and stuff, and you see each iconic, like, icon for each game, for games like Scooby-Doo, games like Family Guy, games like 50 Cent, games like any type of game, right? And even Dragon Ball, even games for Grand Theft Auto, whatever the case might be. But certain games, right? There are certain games where when you're about to delete them, right, they always do a little, like, they do a sad animation. They don't want you to delete it, and it was one of the, like, craziest things, right? And you would notice it, and it was just something so, like, wow, like, that's what saves used to be, man. 8 megabytes. We all thought that was a lot. We all thought that was a lot, man. Like, some of us didn't even know. Like, back then, they were making memory cards that had damn near 1,000 megabytes or had even more, right? Now they're making memory cards where they're like over like gigabytes now. So, like, I mean, dude, it was one of the craziest things to see. Like, back then, what we thought space was like the most. I mean, now you see games, you see games in like 300 gigabytes. You see games are in like 500 gigabytes. We're hearing like GTA 6 is gonna be possibly 300 gigabytes at launch. That is crazy as hell to think, man. I mean, what we came from. I mean, what it was, you pop in the disc and you play it and you save the game and your memory card can handle all that. I mean, the memory cards just, they're so unique, man. And also, the one thing that was awesome was, putting your memory cards in a game and taking over to your friend's house so then they can play. Because I know some of us had those friends where, whenever we beat a game, I remember it was me and my brother, he beat Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and he had all these saves, and his one friend has not been able to beat San Andreas, so he asked him, hey, can you bring your memory card and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas as well? Because, for some reason, like, I don't know what, it's pretty funny, though, was that he, for some reason, asked us to bring San Andreas, even though he had a copy. But either way, the reason why it was so unique was when you bring your memory card over to your friend's house and whatever games they have that you have, you're probably ahead of them in some ways. And it's just it's just memories you'll never forget, man. Like, memory cards hold a very special place for me. I have a shit ton of memory cards that I have. I've bought a bunch of memory cards. I've bought like memory card lots from Goodwill. I just seen, like, going back and looking at people's saves and seeing the years from years like 2004, 5, 6, and 7, and like seeing how much they completed, how much they left off on it. And it's like you even see recent memory cards that are like in 2011, 2020, 2018, and just etc. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, man. There's something that I will forever keep talking about. Something that I forever, like, in a way, like memory cards just, it was an era, man. I think some people miss memory cards. They kind of wish that there was some form of, like, some way they can bring it back for like the modern consoles. Some say that. I don't really, honestly, memory cards, I feel like for modern consoles is different. I think what we have now was good. where your save data is. I mean, yes, now you could lose your save data back then too. It could get corrupt here and there, but yeah, man, what an amazing little device that we had on our hands, honestly. Like, and also, let's not forget, we used to buy, we all, whenever we saw a different color memory card, we always end up buying it. Y'all remember the original PS2, like little like the blue and red one? Everyone had that, man. There was even all types of colors. There was like orange memory cards. There was blue. There's like green memory cards. There's clear memory cards. I mean, there was like the Mad Cat memory cards. Like my favorite one that I have is a Mad Cat's memory card that that was mine. That was for my PS2, and like I loved those memory cards the most. There was even another Mad Cat one that was like yellow and it had like a little black little like leather like little dot on top of it. But yeah, man, that was definitely an era that a lot of us won't forget. It was a little tricky too because sometimes our saves, whenever the memory card got full, some can get corrupted. I mean, honestly, that was definitely a terrible thing, is like having your saves corrupt. I know some people used to have separate memory cards for separate game series. I mean, that's how serious it was. We had to make sure our memory cards are not fucking like getting filled up way too quick. We want to make sure you have separate games for Final Fantasy, for Grand Theft Auto games, for Dave Mirra, BMX games, sports games, whatever the case might be. That was something that like we had to make sure that we kept them in separate places. I did the same thing. I did that for like the Tony Hawk games, for mainly for Underground 1, 2, and American Wasteland. Like those games, I had to keep them on a separate memory card because I remember my one memory card, my OG one, was starting to fill up, which, some would say, wow, like some people didn't, their memory cards wouldn't fill up, but others would. Mine was one of those because I was sharing it with my brother at the time too. So, it easily got full. That's when I got my Mad Catz one. And that Mad Catz memory card is the one that holds all of my OG PS2 data from Tony Hawk's Underground 1, 2, American Wasteland, San Andreas, Vice City Stories, Cyber 1, 2, and 3. Even some Nickelodeon games, Jimmy Neutron, Attack of the Twonkies, I think it's called, and a whole bunch of games. And honestly, that memory card, I cannot lose that thing. I cannot let it break. It has to stay intact because it's a history. It's basically like, that's like my history, like my childhood history of gaming right there. I can't lose that because each of those games, whenever I fire them up, I pick back up where I was. And it's something I can't lose, man. And it's so nostalgic to go back and see that. Especially seeing how much shit I did on like Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. Like, goddamn, like I have so many saves replaying the story, same with American Wasteland 1 and 2. What a crazy time, man. But yeah, guys, moving on to the next topic. All right, let's talk about now. The next segment is let's talk about the PlayStation 2 posters back from the 2000s. These posters definitely had a big impact on, well, for me, and when I saw the PlayStation 2, I mean, they always were, like, everyone always had their different opinions on it, right? It was just like, oh, they're like so creepy and so weird, but like they were an aesthetic, like no matter what you want to say about them. I mean, honestly, when you looked at them, yeah, they could look a little off-putting at some point, right? I will say one thing, PlayStation definitely had, whoever it was for this, right? For the campaigns, for like those posters, for the PS2 itself, they knew what they were doing. Like the 2000s have this like really rare aesthetic to like how like it was with posters, like gaming posters, let alone, looked amazing back then. They look a lot more better than most posters these days. I mean, honestly, we don't even get posters in games anymore. We don't even get posters for game releases anymore. Like most games don't have these posters in store. Most of them don't really be promoting it with a poster. I don't see any GameStops doing that anymore. They just have some random ass other posters that no one cares about. I mean, this is Ico's right here. I mean, this one looks amazing too. Like, guys, like this is what I mean. Like the 2000s had an amazing, like for PlayStation 2, the PS2 had an amazing marketing around it. I don't care what anyone says. Even if you say that all the marketing was what it was, no one will ever say that marketing was bad for PS2. It was amazing. These posters literally enticed you. I mean, if you bought those magazines, those Game Inform magazines, or just those magazines from Safeway or whatever it was, I mean, look, PlayStation was literally making condom ads. I mean, like at the end of the day, it makes you realize, bro, they went there with the marketing. They weren't afraid of it, and they did not give a fuck. I mean, honestly, look at this. It's a PlayStation symbols in condom form. I mean, look at that X. Like, how is that gonna work? Whose dick is gonna go through that? We don't know. But at the end of the day, it just like this marketing was always, it was funny. it was very like certain ones, right? There was certain marketing back then. I remember there's a few posters, and it could be for a lot of games, right? Was whenever there was a guy like sitting on the sofa and it's like late night, you could see the PS2, you could see the game, whatever it was. Those posters for some reason always like I was like, damn, like that's so cool. I have a few. I remember I hung up one of them from a magazine that I had, and I still have it hung. Well, I don't have it hung up anymore, but I have it in like a binder. But like, dude, these posters were so good. Like, they really made you want to hang them up because they were little mini posters. I mean, look at the online thing they're doing. The online campaign for PlayStation 2 was the best it could ever be. I mean, people talk about PlayStation Online initiative and how it is. Look, we never asked for that type of stuff. We never asked for games as a service. We just asked for online multiplayer for certain games. It just doesn't make sense why PlayStation doesn't want to do that. But I guess we're getting to it. But I mean, just look at, like, these posters really did, like, these type of posters entice a lot of people. You might be like shocked, like, oh, what would a poster do? A poster actually convinced people to get games as well. You might be shocked by it. It really is. It really happened for you. I remember I think it was, at the time, it was for the PSP, right? There was this poster. Before I get to that, okay, all I gotta say one thing is SOCOM had the best posters. I don't care what anyone says. Like, SOCOM had the best posters. I mean, it just was so, like, they did an amazing job with SOCOM's posters, especially with black. Like, look at how they looks. I mean, here is what I was talking about with the online campaign for PlayStation 2 Online. Like, you could even see, like, they don't care if you suck. No one will know who you are. I mean, the next one's really funny because, like, essentially it means you could play naked and no one's gonna know. Because it's online gaming. Who would know? Like, who gives a fuck? It was just such a golden time, man. Such an amazing time for online gaming as well. I mean, that was like the age of like online gaming. I mean, especially on PS2. The PlayStation 2 is what introduced me to getting into online. It's what got me really addicted to like getting into online multiplayer. I mean, SOCOM was a big factor in that. Like, my life for multiplayers after I played SOCOM 2 really changed. I really wanted to play more multiplayers. I mean, honestly, every SOCOM release, I was there. Unfortunately, SOCOM 4 had a rough release. That's when the outage happened. It basically killed Zipper Interactive and SOCOM 4. Unfortunately, I feel like Zipper Interactive was a big... Like, Zipper Interactive, man, Sony made a very bad fucking mistake by getting rid of them. Like, you got rid of your best online initiative. Like, they're the ones who has known everything about online since PS2. Like, why would you get rid of them? You know what I mean? It's sad that an outage that was caused by their dumbasses by not, securing their shit, right? Killed a studio that was actually very passionate for what they do. Some people have mixed reviews on SOCOM 4, but honestly, man, it's still sometimes a game goes down like a bad path, right? But it doesn't mean that's the end of it. There should be still a future for it. But yeah, man, that's my whole take on this. Like, on the PlayStation 2, like 2000 ads, like those posters will always be iconic no matter what. I've bought a few from eBay and I've had them hung up on my room and stuff, and they're always so good, man. From even Midnight Club 2, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Sly Cooper's posters. I mean, it was always... They did an amazing job with the posters. I don't care. I mean, honestly, people can say what they say about posters, but you cannot deny that the PS2 had the best ones. But yeah, let's move on to the next topic, guys. All right, guys. Yeah, let's talk about strategy guides. The biggest, most nostalgic thing you could ever pick up at a GameStop, Best Buy, and Target. I don't really know about any other stores, but most of my strategy guides I bought was always at GameStop and or Best Buy. And they were always the best, man. Strategy guides are for people who did not have any internet, or people who, not just internet, but just didn't have a computer, right? And most people that bought strategy guides, they would basically load up all the secrets and guides and everything online, so you can go see, or you can go find other magazines. But a strategy guide was important for a lot of people. It's important for me. It's important for other people that want to play a game and figure out secrets and figure out the locations of, secret weapons, loot, whatever it might have been, right? And let's not act like when we bought those strategy guides, we wouldn't go to school with the strategy guide just to read them at school, because we're not going to try to read books. We want to read that in class when we finish up our work and shit, right? So that was always a cool thing, was doing that. And then when you get home, you get to play and, find all the stuff you saw in the strategy guide. My favorite strategy guides would have to be, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas strategy guide, Sly Cooper 2's. By the way, Sly Cooper 2 strategy guide right now, It's going for about $1,000 or something dollars if you really want a new version of that. That just tells you how rare those are, man, and just how missed they are. I mean, honestly, dude, strategy guides used to actually be something where, I know the internet is there now because now you have YouTube guides and all that, etc., whatever it is, which is fine. At that time, YouTube wasn't out when Sly Cooper 2 came out. Like, YouTube wasn't even around. So, strategy guides had, like, maybe one more year. I mean, they still make strategy guides for PS3, right? But the strategy guide for Sly Cooper 2 basically gave you every hint and everywhere where all the loot locations are at, where all the bottles are at, and even I think they even gave you codes on basically all the vaults and how to basically get all the codes to watch the secret episodes in the menu. So they were needed. I mean, I have a whole shit ton of strategy guides. I would say a lot of Grand Theft Auto ones. I have a Sly Cooper 2 strategy guide. I have a Sly Cooper 3 strategy guide. I have the Sly Cooper Collection strategy guide for PS3. Red Dead Redemption, GTA 4. I mean, dude, I have quite a few that I have to go look and see because I know my brother has quite a few rare ones from the early PS2 days and even PS3 days. But man, like, we used to once be something for the gaming community. I mean, I know we got YouTubers doing guides and stuff, but look, I wouldn't mind. Let's do a little. Let's do a 2000 day, right? Let's do something where we bring back everything that we missed from the 2000s. Like I would not be mad at that. I mean, honestly, if PlayStation want to, they could always do a strategy guide for some of the upcoming exclusives. I would not mind that. Because those were always so like, whenever a new game came out, right? And sometimes strategy guide would be there before the game came out, right? And like whenever you pre-order a game or whenever you're waiting for a game, you end up picking the strategy guide with it. Yes, it would cost like $40-something around that time, but I mean, honestly, dude, it was worth it at the end of the day because it's just a memory. Because, dude, I remember Grand Theft Auto 4 strategy guide. Picking that up, like I still, I don't read it anymore. But back then, like in 2008 and 9, I would always bring it. I would always bring it to school. I'd have to first ask my brother if I can bring it, because again, it was his, technically ours, if you wanted to take it that way. But I mean, at the end of the day, we just share it. But it was something that when you had a strategy guide, like you can bring it to school, even friends who didn't know stuff, you could let them borrow the guide. You can even tell friends about it. I remember back then, I used to write down all the secrets and stuff for like certain games and shit, and I'd write it down and give it to my friends so you can go look at it. So, that was pretty cool. I didn't have a camera phone and that stuff back then. I didn't really have like, an iPhone or smartphone around that time. iPhones were not during the 2000s, but I didn't have a camera to take photos and stuff like that of the strategy guide. I mean, look, I know, what's crazy back then? See, here's the one thing I hate the most is that I always say it. If only I had funds like that back then, I would have bought an extra few PS2s, an extra few bunch of strategy guides. Because you know what, bro? Those are rare as fuck now. I didn't realize how rare they are to get. I mean, dude, there's people selling boxes of PS2, like PS2s, PS3s, and PS, just the box for like $400, $200. Like, it's crazy to think that, but like, I just think like, damn, like I wish I bought a few extra copies of like strategy guides, even games. It definitely would have been something like, it would have been worth it. Would I have sold some? I probably would have sold. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that Sly Cooper strategy guide, would I sell it for that much? No. If I had a new one, I'd probably sell it for like a cool, like maybe $300. I mean, I'm not gonna like sell for 1,000 for whatever is going right now. I mean, that is still crazy to see, but and what a time strategy guides were. I want to know, guys. I mean, honestly, how many of you own strategy guides, and like, which ones did you own? If you can name them, or if you have the names, or if you just remember them, write them. Like, what were your favorite memories from them? I would love to know. But yeah, I just like, I know a lot of people owned them. I know some people that still have like stacks of them to this day. But if you do let me know because I know there's a lot, like that's a core memory for a lot of people. It could be anything from the PlayStation 2 era. I mean, honestly, just those specifically. Like strategy guides, I think those like very overlooked when it comes to like what gaming is now. With strategy. I mean, developers like these days, I'm gonna be honest, developers don't even try with hiding stuff in their games, Easter eggs, all that stuff. It really is lazy now these days with developers and what they do. The only ones I think I see that do Easter eggs are mainly PlayStation Studio games. I'm gonna be honest with you. They don't like they're the only ones that in like Rockstar games, and then maybe even a little bit of Ubisoft, maybe. But honestly, they don't even care anymore. But as far as it goes, like I just don't see like that push for like secrets in games and stuff. It's something like you want to grind for. I mean, it's just different. It doesn't really feel the same sometimes when it comes to that when you're looking for Easter eggs or not. But that's my take on it. But yeah, let's move on to the next topic, guys. All right, guys, let's talk about cheat code books. This is just like strategy guys, but cheat code books were definitely like, dude, that was basically the best thing to have on hand. I mean, we came from a point where with Vice City and Sanders, where we go on the computer and shit. Do you guys remember going to school on the computers and shit and writing down all the cheat codes so you don't get caught? Like, I mean, honestly, bro, that was the days when you had to legit go to school because you didn't have a computer at home or none of that stuff. You had to go to school, use your internet, write down cheat codes off the computer for Grand Theft Auto, like three Grand Theft Auto, like Sanders and all that. Like, I mean, honestly, I did the same thing for San Andreas. Honestly, my brother did. My handwriting was awful, but cheat codes, like, that was like the cheat code books, right? We're not gonna front. All of us stole cheat code books from the book fair, and if you didn't, you're a good person. You did what you do, but I did. I don't give a fuck. I stole a cheat code book. I remember this is the one I stole because this is around the time when I got a PS3 and I stole a PS2. And dude, when you have this cheat code book, you don't need the internet. You don't need none of that shit because it has basically all the games, or close to all the games, but the mainline games you play and the cheat codes. It has Grand Theft Auto San Andreas cheat codes. It has Vice City. So at the time the PSP was out, so you even had the Simpson Hit and Run like cheat code for the PSP, the Simpsons game for the PSP. You had those cheat codes. Like, it had everything. Like, it was one of the coolest things to have, man. Like, you just had the power, and like whenever friends want to know shit, like, dude, you could let them know. Like, hey man, yeah, if you want, read the book and you can take it off. You can take off the codes and stuff. I don't really care. Like, that was my whole thing. Like, I remember the book fair, and I was like, I told my brother, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna take these cheat code books. I don't care, because he was in middle school at the time. I was in elementary school at the time, and I told him, like, the way this has to work is that I have to make sure I can grab them quick. You distract the guy. We have to do it after school, because that was like the last day. It was like a Friday. I remember the book fair started on a Wednesday that week. This is like 2005 or six. No, six. This is 2006, and no. This was 2000 and probably seven or something like that. I believe this was a cheat code book I took, but it looks like it. I remember, no, the one I took was the one that had the PSP, the Wii, the PS3. It had basically every console at that time in 2008. So that was a cheat code book I took, and I remember the book fair started that week and like on Wednesday, and I waited till the last day because, dude, it was hard to get in there and take something, honestly, because like everyone stole shit from the book fair. Let's not act like you didn't. If you did not, remember, you're a good person. You know, have a good life. No one's gonna judge you. You're a good person. But I remember this is Friday, last day. It's the end of school. It's like after school and shit. I told my brother, like, you have to distract the dude that's working there and stuff. And like, I acted like I was like, oh, like, do you need help and stuff? Like, I was trying to be like helpful. I'm a scumbag, dude. To be honest, I don't really. You know what? I know where I'm going in the next one, right? But yeah, I remember I like helped him out by putting some books in a box, and then my brother started talking with him. And basically, dude, I got so scared. I just quickly grabbed. I didn't realize I grabbed two books. Now these, like I said, look, guys, let me just say something. These cheat code books, they go for at stores for about like $13, $11 or something like that. Like, you could go to a bookstore and probably get it cheaper. The book fair was charging. I remember this price. I remember what they were charging for it. I'm not sure if that's what they could charge or that's their own thing, whatever it was. Dude, they were charging damn near close to $17 when this book is like $11. I could have swore seen $11 somewhere else, right? That's how much I sold the second one for. Like, so, but like, they were selling it for some, like, they were robbing people. So I had to do it. I did it, and then I remember I ran out. No one saw, but like, dude, I ran like out, and I went to this park that's in like the school and stuff. And I right when I got there, I showed my brother. I have two of them. So the second one, we ended up selling it to somebody for like $11. That was like walking, because it was like Friday and stuff. So like they were like walking still, like people are getting like walking home and stuff. And it was a person we knew. He had like $11 with him. He bought it, and there you go. We got $11, and we got a free cheat code book. I don't regret it all, because again, that they were trying to like scam the fuck out of people. I will tell you right now that I was not one of those people that got money for the book fair. My mom and dad did not care for that. So, was what it was. Look, I don't encourage stealing. I don't encourage that at all. But look, at that time, I'm not going to act like I was the only person that did it. There's multiple people at my school that did that shit. They stole books and stuff. Not really cheap. I mean, cheat code books, most definitely people stole those too. But like, it was other books people stole. Like, I think it was like comic books and stuff like that. I could have swore that they even had like Dragon Ball books there too. Like, I remember some kid like stole like a whole bunch of Dragon Ball books and no one noticed. I think the kid's actually in jail now. I'm not sure, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, whatever is going on with him, hopefully he gets better in life, but that's him. But yeah, man, cheat code books were definitely a save for people who did not have a computer at home. You know, that's where the meme scumbag Steve came from. You know, what does he have in his room? That's still a funny meme, but yeah, man, like those are days. I mean, you went from, like I said, either if you had a cheat code book or you were going to the school computers and writing down cheat codes like that for your PS2. Like the most games I remember people doing that for was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas at the time. Even for a GTA 4, I remember like 2008, like I saw people in the computer lab trying to get like GTA 4 cheats and stuff, like the phone numbers and shit. So, you know, that's pretty cool too. But yeah, man, those are good days. Cheat codes now mean nothing in video games, to be honest. They really are nothing in video games. Developers don't care for them. So guys, I did not know this back in the day. I didn't know developers made the cheat codes. I did not know that shit when I was young. I thought cheat codes like some secret hacks and shit that we were doing that, you know, like someone ended up making and shit. Like I didn't know the developers were doing that shit. So I was young as fuck, man. I was like, I think I learned that right when I turned like 7 years old. So like I remember my brother told me like, no, like you don't randomly do it. Like it's not like some random ass person thought of these codes and shit. That's what I thought. I thought some random ass person did it and they're making books and shit. So that's what I thought. But yeah, man, cheat codes now, like there's just no cheat codes at all. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 was the last game I think I used cheat codes for. But dude, even then they're not even that good. Like I think Rockstar, they did a really lazy job with them. I mean, cheat codes now, like with most games, they should, you know, most games they should disable trophies because, you know, it is a little, I guess, cheating in a way. But I mean, look, there are certain trophies in games that I wouldn't mind using cheat codes for. But yeah, man, let me know down below, like if you ever, where did you get your very first cheat code book from? Most definitely from the book fair, but you know, and if did you pay for it, did you steal, whatever the case, yeah, whatever it was, whether you took it unknowingly to the book fair, whether you paid for the book fair, whether you got it from stores. I would love to know because I know a lot of people did buy cheat code books around the time I think that, I'm gonna be honest, cheat code books really were used during the PS2 era. Like I don't really remember a lot of people getting cheat code books for Wii's and stuff like that. The only time cheat code books were like really used, right? Like yeah, I just remember during the PS2 era was when it was used the most. I mean, I don't remember seeing a cheat code books after 2008. You know, we saw some, but like they weren't needed anymore because again the internet was taken off at that time. You know, everyone and anyone had a computer, had a laptop, had, you know, an iPod Touch where they can connect to the internet, where they had Wi-Fi. You know, dude, like you really just had no reason to own a cheat code book anymore. I mean, it was mainly used around like I said, 2005, 6, 7, and 8. You know, cheat codes were really big during that time. After that, you kind of really didn't see cheat codes anymore. But yeah, man, definitely let me know your favorite memories. Buying a cheat code book or using cheats. Like what were your favorite like cheats in video games? Like what were your favorite games that had the best cheat codes? I would love to know. Like what were your favorite memories of using cheat codes? But let's move on to the next one. By the way, one last thing, do you guys remember when you were young with cheat codes and how you couldn't do cheat codes and you had to call your brother and he did it automatically? Like for some reason you could never do cheat codes. And then now to this day, now whenever you play those old PS2 games stuff and like anything, etc., right, you can do cheat codes all of a sudden now. Like it's so weird how that worked, how cheat codes were, and how you couldn't, how when you were a kid you were not able to do cheat codes. I mean, honestly, man, I couldn't do that. I had to call my brother for that. But then, you know, a few years later on, I could do it. I'm kind of glad games. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think games moved like Saints Row 2 and Grand Theft Auto 4, they moved into like having the phone and phone numbers like that. So I mean, you know, that was good. It wasn't bad, but definitely a core memory right there, man. All right, guys. Before I end off the video, I just want to let you guys know one thing. This video, I started working on it around last Friday, and then I was finished up half of it during Saturday. Today's Monday. I'm actually doing this Monday night, basically today. I don't know. It's probably by tomorrow. It'll be Tuesday. But yeah, so guys, I just want to let you guys know one thing is that before I get to it, this video almost did not happen. Because if you guys saw, there's a section I remember because I'm gonna have timestamps for all of these. For the PS2 section, when I talked about my favorite PS2 games, I had gameplay for all the PS2 games I talked about. But unfortunately, when I was looking to go edit, all out of nowhere, I could not like select it. I couldn't even get to edit the fucking clips that I had for it. And like, dude, I got so scared because This basically almost messed up all the other segments. Like, it messed up all the other ones that I recorded. This video almost did not happen, but thankfully the audio for basically everything was still there. I still had my audio, me talking. This is like the newest. This audio and the ending part where I'm gonna talk are basically the ones I'm filming or the ones I'm recording today. Like at that time, like I almost, like, this video almost didn't happen because of that. So that was definitely crazy, because if that happened where the audio got corrupt and the audio wasn't able to be recovered, dude, I was not making this video anymore. I was done. The only shitty part is for the PS2 games, like I said, guys, you're gonna see basically a lot of pictures. You're not gonna really see a lot of other stuff. Maybe some gameplay. I had gameplay for each and every single game that I got, but dude, after it got deleted, I could not be asked to get it again, because dude, it was what it was. I'm not gonna lie. My advice for you, if you are recording anything and you take a break from it and you do it the next day, back it up on a hard drive immediately. I know that might sound like, oh, I gotta do it. Just do it. Make sure you back up all your work before you take a break or to go on to it the next day. Back it up onto a hard drive. Like, have a hard drive connected to your laptop, whatever it might be. Just have it backed up, because if not, there's a chance that when you go back to editing it, right, it's gonna be corrupt, or it's gonna end up messing up, or something's not gonna work, and you start getting into a headache, man. But either way, let's get back to the ending. My bad. All right, guys, we're at the end of the video now. I had to explain some stuff that happened during editing, but yeah, man, the PS2 is 25 years old. The year 2000 was 25 years ago. That's crazy to say, man. It's crazy to say some people are 25. It's crazy to say some people are like 40 now, 30, whatever the case might be. When back then in 2000, most people were just being born. Most people were just like turning 17, 18, 20. Most people were just graduating high school, moving on to high school, whatever the case might have been. I feel like the one thing is, I know people talk about this a lot, is that like the good old days, the golden age of time, right? That was during the early 2000s. I can understand that. I just think the reason why people feel that way is that back then we used to like all sit together. We all used to be family and stuff. I think like nowadays, like everyone's like kind of moving out now. Everyone has to like, become an adult now. Like, it's understandable. No matter what, whenever you become an adult, you have to slow down in certain areas. You have to worry about your future and stuff. And I feel like with the gaming, the PS2 and stuff like that, like during that time, the 2000s, we didn't have to worry about much, because all of us were young during that time. All of us were young. All of us, like, and even when you're in your 30s, 20s, the case was you were still young. I mean, I was in your 20s, right? When you're in 20s, like you're going to college and stuff, like, you're young. So it's understandable now, like now that we're in the 2025, right? It's like we're all like, we want to go back because it was easier back then. Like we went from like, for me, like sitting on the sofa with my brother watching Malcolm in the Middle and stuff. Like, I miss those days. Knowing that a Malcolm in the Middle reboot's happening, it just feels good to hear that. But like, all of us wish we can go back to those moments, like watching Family Guy in the living room with our family, with our brothers and sisters and stuff like that. And it's understandable. I think the one thing we can do now, right, to not to like, feel like down and stuff. 'Cause I know some people feel down whenever they hear this. Like when they ever hear it's like, oh, 25 years ago, like damn, like, oh, what an era, like I missed that. And that's understandable. I think time has never been on our side. No matter what you want to take it as, it really wasn't. I feel like some people say time's moving so fast now, and that could be true. But I mean, back then, like we asked the same thing back then in 2000. Like we wish we had more time back then too. So like now compared to then, I think everything's been moving the same way it is. I think the world is getting crazier as it is. I think 2020 definitely changed the world, but I think we're getting back to somewhat, right? We're somewhat getting back into the original way it was up until 2019. Like, everything up until 2020, like everything changed in 2020, but I think we're going back somewhat to a 2019 type of way. But I mean, I feel for gaming, for people like right now, it's like different. I think people have a different opinion on what they feel about gaming right now. They feel like, oh, I wish things were like they were back then. I think people say like, oh, like I'm so glad that things are getting better. But at the end of the day, I think all I can tell you right now, right, is to not to look at the years moving on and be like, oh, like I'm so sad and stuff, like, oh, I'm like this. And don't worry about that stuff. I would say just worry about just staying sane, doing better in the world, making something for yourself. Like, dude, at the end of the day, when you do that and you look, because these are memories, don't look back at them with sadness, look back at them with just joy. because you know those are memories I still cherish. Like, cherish those memories. Don't try to live in them, right? Just cherish what they were, and you know, just like talk about them in some way. Like, you know, like that. I feel like everyone, they talk about like back in the day and stuff, right? They talk about stuff like that. It always lightens up their mood, and always gives them a smile. And I think that's like the best thing to a person, is like when they smile more often, when they never lose hope and they stay sane. You know, just like at the end of the day, guys, like you just have to make a better day no matter what. I know it's getting to like emotional phase, like where we're all talking about, like, you know, I'm talking about positive shit, but no, it's like I do want to talk about that, you know, because, but yeah, you know, just talking about that, it is something to talk about, because, you know, I understand that some people, when they hear 25 years ago was the year 2000, when they hear that the PS2 was released 25 years ago, even with the original Xbox, the GameCube, whatever it was, right? We look at those type of things and we say like, damn, like, I want to go back. Like, I've had those moments too. Like, there's certain years I want to go back to. I want to go back to 2012. I want to go back to 2008. I want to go back to 2005. You know, those are years I want to go back to. But I wouldn't change much. But the reason why I don't want to go back to them, because I've already lived them. You know, they are what they are. I think nowadays we see a lot of like old commercials and stuff. Like, people are uploading old commercials. Instagram is showing that. Twitter is showing that. You know, there's like Twitter accounts that are like, you know, showing off the old internet, showing off old technology, websites, old commercials. So, you know, it's like my number one goal would be for you guys, just stay the fuck away from Instagram and Twitter. I mean, I only use Twitter for gaming news, and that's about it. I don't really care much about it. The platform sucks ass. A lot of platforms on social media suck. I mean, YouTube is what it is, but hey man, YouTube's YouTube. You can't get rid of it. So that's just what it is. But you know, with social media, I think it's a lot of it is just a farm like nostalgia and stuff off of people, because when they watch it, you know, because like I will say one thing though, the way colors looked back then, it looked so good back then. The way the colors looked, the way the world looked, like, you know, I feel like even if we went back, it wouldn't seem like it's different. But to be honest, man, I'm not gonna lie, it does look like the colors were like a lot more brighter, and you know, everything looked a lot more happier and stuff. But you know, that's just life. I think happiness is within you, so you gotta do what you gotta do in this world. You gotta, you know, hope things go right. I mean, honestly, like, what if it goes right? You never know. Like, what if life goes the way you want it to go? It always can, as long as you put in the work, as long as you look ahead, as long as you're happy, as long as you try to be happy, do things that will help your mind. You know, just have fun in life. That's all I can say. You know, just never lose hope. Just stay sane and always make a better day. See you guys next time. Thank you for watching this long ass video. I do apologize for that mistake I made in the editing. I mean, I don't know if it's my fault. I mean, dude, it is what it is. But I just want to say thank you. Whether this video gets 2 views, 5 views, I really don't care. I love making content. See, I always fuck up my words. I can't speak properly, man. I suck at speaking. I gotta get better. But you know, whether whoever watches it enjoys it, I'm gonna still keep making videos no matter what. I think tonight I can reapply for the YouTube partnership. Let's pray I get it back into it, right? But you know, whatever happens. I'm not gonna stop uploading. I'm not gonna stop doing YouTube. I don't care how things are. I'm just gonna keep doing what I wasn't able to do years ago. I'm finally taking the courage and doing what I should have done a decade ago. Like, you know, I wish I hopped on YouTube years ago. But there's no time to think about regrets. There's no time to, you know, let regrets fuel into anything. All there is time for is to make the best, and that's it. So I'll see you guys next time. Peace.